You're listening to the Better in Bavaria podcast, hosted by U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Public Affairs. We share stories and the people behind them, the soldiers and Army civilians supporting our readiness mission and making our community a great place to work, live, and raise a family.
Hello everyone, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Better in Bavaria. I'm your co-host, Linda Reed, with U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Public Affairs. And you know what? I'm a very lucky American living and working in lovely Germany.
Willkommen. I'm also Public Affairs Officer. I'm your co-host, Andreas Kreuzer. I'm born and raised in Vilseck, Bavaria.
Thank you, listeners and subscribers, for sharing your time with us as we spotlight our garrison and what makes it so special. Today, we're really looking forward to having you meet our guest.
Yes, we have a great show for you. And today, we talk about a very famous and 83-year-old organization. We're talking about the USO. And today we have in the Better in Bavaria studio a special guest, a power woman and the face of the USO, Kayla Harris.
Hey, Better in Bavaria listeners. Thank you, Andreas, and thanks so much for inviting me to be here with you today. And Bavaria listeners, thanks for tuning in. I'm Kayla Harris, and I'm glad to share a little bit about myself. So, where was I born? Well, my passport says Anniston, Alabama, and guess what? I'm the product of a military family, and 2 weeks after I was born, my dad PCS'd. So what am I currently responsible for? USO centers in Ansbach, Camp Albertshof, Camp Aachen, and on Tower Barracks. And I have to share that I've been blessed to have worked with the USO in every region except CONUS, the continental U.S. I've been in Europe since 1981, with the exception of 4 years at Aberdeen Proving Ground. My husband clearly was an active duty soldier, and 4 years out in the Pacific.
Carly, you are one of my favorite people. Did you know that?
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the feeling's mutual.
All right.
For everybody in the room, by the way.
Thank you for that. And I just think your enthusiasm is contagious, and I have just really enjoyed working with you together. We have had some special projects.
Indeed we have.
So thank you again for being here today. And what I would like to know, and what our listeners would like to know, is what makes it better in Bavaria for you?
Okay, so I have to share, I love both Rhineland-Pfalz and Hessen. Lived a lot of time in those German states, but Bavaria is special. We're going to start, it's breathtakingly beautiful. We are loved here by our host nation. And the word community really, really does have meaning in USAG Bavaria. Military, civilian, and organizational leaders make a point of emphasizing how important it is to work closely together. In this garrison, it's always, in my experience, about finding a way to say yes. We're referred to, we the USO, as a community partner, and we are always provided a seat at the table whenever it's possible to do so. That makes it really special, and indeed, I love it when the term Better in Bavaria was coined.
Kayla, you always smile, you're always happy, and it makes me happy that you like the area here where I'm coming from. And over the last years in our garrison, I've seen many ways the USO helps the garrison. The USO team does great things.
So I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to be here today to share a little bit more and go a little more in depth about the USO. Thank you for the kind words. We're a team. We're a team of staff and volunteers, and it's vital for all of us to help take care of those that we serve. So what I'd really like our soldiers, civilians, family members to know about, I'm going to do 4 points here. I'm going to talk a little bit of history. Please don't get bored. But we are 83 years old, and we're very proud of our history and our legacy. So let's hit the Wayback Machine to 1941, when President Roosevelt was concerned about the welfare and spirits of those headed into battle. In response to that, 6 service agencies worked in partnership to create and launch the United Service Organizations, or USO. And by the way, interesting fact, if you look at our logo, there's 6 stars. And those 6 stars represent the 6 organizations that banded together to form the USO. That would be number one. Number two, any idea how many centers we have worldwide? Let me share. We've got 250 centers in 39 states. Then we've got Washington, D.C., Guam, Puerto Rico, and 27 countries. And oh, by the way, we opened 20 new centers across 6 states and 6 countries in 2023. Am I bragging? Yeah, I am, just a little bit. Point number 3, we provided programs and services to military service members and their families. I'm going to take a moment to pause. 10.6 million times in 2023. And last but not least, we have 680 staff members. Obviously, we couldn't do it with just 680 staff members, but we have more than 20,000 volunteers worldwide, and that's what makes it work.
That's really making a difference.
Thank you. We hope so. We hope so. That's what we're here for.
So, Collie, how many grand openings you did in your career with USO?
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for that question. Just a couple, and I've been fortunate, Andreas, in Europe, in Southwest Asia, or Middle East and Africa, as we're now called, and also in the Pacific.
Wow.
And that would be the good news. We've had to say goodbye to a few as well, but let's look at all the ones that were opened.
It's crazy, and USO makes a big difference, like in here at USEC Bavaria and on the whole planet.
You're right. There are also new opportunities emerging daily to support and show our appreciation for our military and their families. We have fantastic programs for expecting mothers. Let me tell you about the special delivery program the USO hosts around the globe. You know, a new mom usually has a great support network if they live in the community where they grew up. But you got to take a minute and think about the expectant mom who is away from her girlfriends, her mama, her sisters, and even cousins. Who's going to throw that expectant mother a baby shower when they're living so far away? And interestingly enough, our exit surveys have said that more than 70% of expecting or just having had little ones moms don't have a baby shower. So guess who's going to have the baby shower for them? The USO.
Wow. I'm a new parent, and those events are very special, and it means a lot to celebrate it in the new home, far away from home.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. And for many of the moms overseas, they're also delivering their little ones in hospitals, not necessarily U.S. military hospitals. And that too makes it exciting. But we've had some incredible big names that have attended some of them. Heidi Murkoff, who's the author of the well-known series What to Expect When You're Expecting, has joined us here in Grafenwehr several times. And we continue, and I should mention our very own USAG Bavaria Garrison Command Sergeant Major has joined us for every shower that we've had since he arrived. And he's a big hit.
He does a good job. That's very special to him, that program.
He just likes to party.
He does a great job holding a little one. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. And he also makes special time to go sit and talk with his active duty pregnant service members as well. So
it was very special to me, Heidi. I mean, when I was a young mom and reading that book, I never in my life thought I'd actually meet her. And she just cares about moms so much around the world. So for her to participate in that is a big deal.
Would you like me to share? I happen to have had the honor and privilege of being part of the very first Oconus baby shower that Heidi attended. Happened to be on the island of Okinawa at the USO Center on Kadena Air Base, and it was the first week of August. And what that means in Okinawa, that time of year, is 80 plus degrees, 80+% humidity, and guess what? More than 200 either pregnant or expectant moms in the big USO ballroom, and the power went out.
Wow.
Interesting.
Oh, no.
It was just a little bit warm, but you know what? In typical USO military mom fashion, the doors were open, the fans were brought out, and it worked, and everybody had a fabulous time. But Heidi has done a wonderful job for us, and our showers continue worldwide. It's one of our core programs, as a matter of fact.
You guys do a good job of including everyone.
So when I get stationed here in the area as a young soldier, so what services can I get from the USO? What events do you provide?
I'm so happy you asked that question. Okay, so we've actually gotten, I'm really excited to say, we have what we call core programs. And I'm going to start by saying, I'm going to name them. I don't want to go into all of them. It's all up on our website in great detail. But at any brick and mortar USO center, the center itself is the primary core program. And as you walk through the door, you're going to get free internet. You're going to get refreshments, snacks and beverages. You're going to have a place to relax. You're probably going to have a movie room and gaming opportunities. So that would be core program number 1 is our center. And then in alphabetical order, here they come. We have a canine program. We have care package programs. We have coffee connections. We should come back to that, I think. Of course, there's entertainment, gaming. We have holiday programs. And for in the USO world, holiday starts with October and runs typically through the first week of January and everything in between. We have program in a box. We have our reading program. We have our response program. What that means is, for example, when a unit deploys, either with or without notice, that's our opportunity to respond and support them wherever they're going. Special delivery, we hit that one. We have a transitions program that is in support and in addition to the regular transition program like TAPS that the Army runs. We have USO to Go, we have youth programs, and I already hit on our single largest and most important program, and that's our center. Does that help answer the question?
That's so much that you do for so many. Thank you.
And those are the core programs. Let me just say that we try to keep up with the needs of service members and their families. So we have programs that are core that have been identified as such, and then we have programs that we're testing that are non-core.
So I really love hearing about all the core programs and all the events that you do. And folks really need to go to that, not just because of the event itself and what that gives them, but it's a great place to meet others from the garrison.
Oh, absolutely. And Coffee Connections is a perfect example of that. It started and it has evolved into a core program. They now happen worldwide, and it's the opportunity for folks in the community to get together. We have morning programs, we have evening programs. It's a networking opportunity. Some are with children, some are without children, but it's just basically get out and meet new people, especially outside of your unit, if you will, or whatever has caused you to be stationed in the area.
Carly, what's your favorite program or event?
You know,
I know you're dressing up as a lot of different things, and so.
Oh, that's right. You do go for a theme.
Yeah, there's got to be joy. I'm just saying
Yes.
there's got to be joy, and that's part of what the USO is around to provide is the joy. That is a really hard one for me to answer. There are so many. The ones that bring me joy, truly, are the ones that a community works together to build, and all the community partners are a part of it, and they're available. And of course, we're very proud to be able to say that all of our programs, a USO program, is no cost. You're coming, and that is possible as a result of generous donations by private individuals and sponsors. I love all the entertainment programs. I love watching the faces of children and families and soldiers, whether it's happening in Kuwait or whether it's happening in Korea or whether it's happening here in our garrison. A program to me is anything that makes people happy.
Andreas, you have been here a long time. What is your favorite USO event or activity?
Well, there are many events, but I remember I went to one event and there was a Cookie Monster, and the Cookie Monster gave me a hug, and I figured out it was Carly. So I don't remember what event it was, but it was amazing.
Wait a minute, the Cookie Monster gave you a what?
Can you say
A hug.
A hug.
A hug.
A hug.
Not a hug.
Let's say a cookie. It's easier. We are going to take a quick break. We will be right back with our guest from the USO, Miss Carly Harris.
Like what you're hearing? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe, like, and share our episodes of Better in Bavaria. Visit our USAG Bavaria social media to learn more. And remember, it's Better in Bavaria.
Not only the entertainment, but I remember being in an airport somewhere in the world, exhausted, and going to a USO center, and it felt like the best executive lounge in the world because it was volunteers there that welcomed you, and they had cookies there for my child, and it was just fantastic. But the special delivery event, I think, is just really special because that is a time when a military family really needs to build a community around them. But also, I think the volunteers that you have, because you are building careers by having people volunteer, and that is such a good way to get a portable career going and skills going that wherever your active duty member takes you, you can bring that with you. How about you?
Absolutely. I started with the USO as a volunteer. That's where I started. And I was, interestingly enough, I was doing orientation tours in the Wiesbaden and Mainz area. They were free. And so teaching people up in that area at that time, it wasn't something that ACS was offering. And so we taught folks how to buy a train ticket, how to read the train schedule, put them on an S-Bahn or a train, took them down into town, walked them through, showed them how to set up their telephones, how to get out of a parking garage by paying the parking ticket. Explain to them what you always know why there's a line at the airport, right? It's somebody that's new to Germany and doesn't understand you got to pay your parking ticket in advance. Yeah. Anyway, all of the things that would be helpful to settle in a newcomer and make them feel comfortable. We also took them out to lunch at the time. And Wayback Machine a little bit, interestingly enough, the German government helped pay for that, but there were a whole lot of us here at that time. So, yeah, volunteers, we will do our very best. If we have an open position within a USO center, we're going to hire a volunteer if there's any possible way, because quite honestly, volunteers, if we haven't coached, mentored, and given them tools in their toolbox to do, a USO position, then we're not doing our jobs as staff members.
That's really, really important. Now, I think when many people hear, maybe not affiliated with the military, but when they hear USO, they think of entertaining the troops, those things that they've seen on TV, where they bring stars to the troops, wherever they are. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm happy to. So I'm going to give a big shout out to USO Arlington and our entertainment department. I'm going to give a huge shout out to Armed Forces Entertainment, with whom USO Arlington works closely. And then I'm going to give a huge shout out at the garrison or local level, depending on branch of service, to our DFMWR, because it's a tremendous partnership that brings these celebrities over. I bet you didn't know, and I'm not even naming all of them, but within USAG Bavaria, we've had Gary Sinise, we've had Chuck Norris, we've had the Atlanta Falcons, we've had the Chicago Cubs mascot and World Series trophy, we've had Chef Irvine, we've had Wilmer Valderrama, we've had Craig Morgan, and that's just naming a few.
Had him here. Wow.
In our footprint. And there are many others that I haven't named, but we don't have that long today, right? So let's go to a little higher level in my memory. Folks that have toured with us that I've had the honor and privilege of meeting. Here's Bob Hope. Wow. He did his 85th anniversary show in Paris, and his foundation sponsored buses for USOs to bring service members and families over.
He's the GOAT of USO entertainers, right?
We, believe it or not, Billy Joel entertained 12,000 people in Nuremberg before that installation closed.
Wow.
And there's some people in this garrison that were at that concert, and I was there too. Of course, we didn't know it. Robin Williams is special. He's been with him in Frankfurt, been with him down in the Gulf. Very, very special entertainer. Angelina Jolie, interestingly enough, and Cher. NFL players and cheerleaders everywhere all the time, especially as the war kicked off, the most recent wars kicked off. And of course, Toby Keith. But I don't get starstruck very often, but Andreas, to your blue costume, the one celebrity that really has had me starstruck is our dear friend Cookie Monster, who used to go on tour with the USO Sesame Street show. And that's the picture I will always treasure, is getting a hug from Cookie Monster.
Kayla, you mentioned you started as a volunteer. So how many years are you with USO?
36.
Wow, what a career.
Had to learn my own social security number.
Now, before our break, you were talking about entertainers, and I think we're going to segue a little bit more about volunteers, because that's really special to me. I wouldn't have my career with the federal government if I hadn't volunteered before, and then had that toolbox I kind of built to go into the interview to talk about what I had done, and they give you increasing levels of responsibility as a volunteer. That would take a long time in your career to reach that level. So you have great volunteers. Tell us about
we have some amazing volunteers, and I'm so glad that you said that, Linda, because military community just simply does not function as well as it does without the volunteers we have. And I'm going to start by saying, whether you volunteer for the USO, or you volunteer at the library, or you volunteer for the Red Cross, or whether you volunteer for Scouts or VFW or wherever you volunteer, sports, please just volunteer. Help make it happen, especially in an area like we're in right now, where we are very deployable. The ops tempo is very high, and it's so important to try to maintain as much normalcy as we can for the children, which is one of our programs, youth programs, in our community. And it really does take the talents of everybody. And please don't ever diminish what you might think. Everyone has something to give. They really do. Okay, that's my soapbox for the day. But yes, our volunteers. We have individual volunteers. We have groups of volunteers that help us. We have units that also help us as well. And without them, there's absolutely no way that we would be able to accomplish what we do accomplish. And part of the fun of it is we're family. We just get her done. We figure it out, just like anybody else associated with the military, do more with less. Our job is we get to bring the joy. And making that possible, and it's our intent always that the volunteers, sometimes they even have more fun than we do, and that's a good thing, I think. We also recognize them. We have a pretty well-organized recognition program. There aren't very many volunteers that volunteer simply for the recognition, but we do have some swag that they get. And we do make a point of having regular celebrations. You know, you've hit so many hours, et cetera, et cetera. And I know personally, as I read resumes, when I see that, when I go to the bottom of the resume and I don't see that somebody's volunteered, okay, from a volunteer management standpoint, okay then, I'm curious as to why not. Because if you're going to come work for the USO, you need to understand how to work with volunteers, how to manage volunteers, and recognize the value and importance of volunteers.
I think that is so important. I hope I'm saying this the right way, but when you volunteer, you really get so much more out of it than you give, and you make friends for life. And if you stay in the military in those communities, you're going to circle back and see each other again, and you just have that foundation. I just think it's fantastic. Brings families together.
Absolutely, and I'll share with you, actually a USAG Bavaria Volunteer of the Year in category military has just left the military and is going to work at a USO center in Poland.
Wow.
And that happens with us all the time. We have volunteers that come into us that we had one that came in with 500 hours from locations in Southwest Asia.
That's commitment.
It is commitment. It is commitment, and we value them. I think, actually our volunteer videographer and photographer feeds information for you all. She's amazing. I couldn't even begin to do what she does. So we take advantage. We try to, volunteers volunteer for a reason, and we do our very best to try to determine what their agenda is and to match it as best we can with our agenda.
All good points. I thought it was up on everything about the USO, but you really gave us so much more.
Thanks, Andreas. Okay, now our listeners always want to know when we have our guests here, and this is going to be a hard one for you, I think, because you again, your enthusiasm for your program and the center and the organization is lovely. But Carly, what's the most interesting and enjoyable part of being involved with the USO?
And I'm ready for that one.
All right.
I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I hope that everybody with the organization they work for has this feeling. Every day is a new and exciting adventure. And in our world and our resumes, we've got other duties as assigned. And that, for a USO person, is truly being able, no day's the same. No day is the same. Being able to provide USO goodness to service members and their families, that's it. That's it. It's the little things that can really make a difference. So, gonna do a visual here. Imagine a very young service member that has never lived anywhere where winter tires are required, at the wash rack in Hohenfels at 10 o'clock at night in the dark, in very, very cold temperatures. You're able to provide warm beverages, whether it's coffee, whether it's hot chocolate, whether it's soup, and they come around behind the table to wrap their arms around the percolator or the tureen where the soup is being cooked. That's what the USO is all about. Imagine you're down somewhere in the Gulf and your wife is giving birth in the United States and the USO Center is there so that you can FaceTime with your wife on the free Wi-Fi and watch the birth of your child. Why am I passionate about the USO? Well, those are just two examples. I could talk for a very long time.
Sometimes it's about the little things, and the USO makes a difference everywhere. And it's amazing how you enjoy your job and how you enjoy to help others. So to wrap it up for today, Carly, what do you like our audience to remember from today's episode?
Okay, thank you. I have three things. The mission of the USO is to strengthen the well-being of the people serving in America's military and their families. That's our mission. I'm going to say to all that are listening, please support your military community, volunteer, and I would absolutely be remiss if I didn't say, remember, it's better in Bavaria.
Well, I know our community is better because of you, and they really appreciate you and your USO. Your team are really superstars.
I will share that with them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carly, for joining our podcast today. And I concur, you have a great, wonderful team.
You know what that sound means?
Oh, that music means it's time for the word or phrase of the day. Carly, do you have a German word or phrase of the day?
Only if I may have two.
Perfect, even better.
Okay.
Go for it. You deserve to.
All right, so the first one, you can Google it, you can try to translate it. It doesn't work from German to English. Andreas, I think you'll agree with me. Actually, both of these are this way. So the first one I'm going to do is Gemütlichkeit. And don't laugh at my U.
Oh, that's a good one. It's perfect.
Wait, did you just use an umlaut?
I used an umlaut. I can do Gemütlichkeit. I can't do Kuka or Brucken, but that's okay. All right, so Gemütlichkeit conveys the idea of a state or feeling of warmth, friendliness, and good cheer. I can smile and say a fest tent down during Oktoberfest, or I need to leave that out. Okay. Other qualities that are implied or encompassed by this term are coziness and peace of mind and a sense of belonging and well-being. We don't have a single word in English. If we do, I'm not aware of it.
That's true.
Am I right, Andreas?
Correct.
Okay. Are we ready for the second one?
Sure.
All right, here we go. The second word goes right along with Gemütlichkeit, and it's better in Bavaria, and that's genießen.
Oh, you got the two best words.
And, my other thought would be, please, 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 while you're in Germany, while you're in Europe, especially while you're in Bavaria, be sure and genießen everything that is available to you.
Okay, are we ready to try the word Gemütlichkeit?
I'm the one trying it. You guys know it. Are we going to put an and in between the two words?
Oh, sure, let's do that.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Ready, set?
Gemütlichkeit
And
and genießen.
For more Better in Bavaria podcasts, subscribe, like, and share our episodes. Visit our U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria social media or website to learn more.